Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Sad Story of Emmeline Burns. My audio actually should be a lot better today because I got a new mic, so that's cool. And yeah, let's get right back into it. Oh, sorry, obviously, this is Coffee and Poop, and here we go. So we got to last. Emmeline Burns, born in 1836 to Philip and Perdita Burns, led a charmed life. Her family was rather well-to-do, her grandfather being a lawyer, her father a banker, and she grew up in a large house with 5 bedrooms on the outskirts of Barrowby. Given her father's profession, he was often away in London on business, but this did not upset Emmeline. She was old enough to understand that her father needed to work, so they could afford her nice house and her fine clothes and the ribbons she wore in her hair, so she did not complain. Though she did not see her father for months at a time, when he returned home it was always with a present for Emmeline, and a kiss on her cheek. It was as though he had never been away at all. Philip was a kind man, though he may not have been a paragon of manly virtues. He's the runt of the litter. If he were a pig, we would have drowned him in the well, grandmother Patience had always griped. He was not naturally predisposed to the world of financing. He did have a good head on his shoulders, and he was relatively intelligent. Not even Grandma Patience would argue could deny that. It was through his quick wits, rather than his magnetic charisma, of which he was sorely lacking, that Philip had been able to expand upon the Burns' family fortune, as he had invested a good deal of their money into the stock market. Emmeline really did love her father, despite his lack of presence in her life, or maybe because of it. They do say, after all, that absence makes the heart grow fonder. Even when Philip was not at home, Emmeline had a great deal to busy herself with, and she was never bored or lonely. She would help her mother with her embroidery, or exchange idle gossip with the servants, or go for long walks about the countryside, eating blackberries from the hedgerows and snagging her dress on brambles. Emmeline's long-suffering governess, Helena Warren, certainly had her hands full when it came to disciplining her rowdy pupil. Though Emmeline was not unintelligent, she had been born with the disposition of a sea captain or a polar explorer, and she was physically incapable of sitting still for 5 minutes. That is, unless she was with Cornelia Linton. Emmeline and Cornelia had known one another since they were both babies, and they were almost inseparable. They spent most of their waking hours together, sitting by the lakeside in the Lintons' private estate. They would stare out across the untroubled waters, which carried along with lily pads, reeds, and fish with shimmering scales, and they would talk, sipping raspberry lemonade. Everyone in Barrowby knew that the lake in the Lintons' estate belonged to Cornelia and Emmeline. They had claimed it through their countless hours that had whiled away there by the grassy banks, feeding the fish and dipping their bare toes into the water. The lake was their private land, a secret garden everyone knew of, but nobody would intrude upon. And so it was that Emmeline and Cornelia spent the summer months together, basking under the sunshine. So how's your embroidery coming along? Cornelia panted, giving Emmeline a light shove on the shoulder. Oh, please do not ask me about my embroidery. You know better than anybody how dreadful I am at it. I have no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. Emily giggled at returning Cornelia's shove with one of her own. I do not understand how you can be so terrible at sewing, Nellie. It's hardly a science. It may be simple for you, but it's not so for me. Engaging in an activity I have no talent for is incredibly disheartening, and I keep poking myself with the needle. Ooh, let me see. What? No! Cornelia's pout deepened as she held her hands behind her back, attempting to hide them. What do you want to see my hands, anyway? Do you want to gloat? Me? Gloat? I would never. I just want to see the wounds that have been dealt you despite your best efforts, my dear Cornelia, so I may applaud you for your bravery. Forgive me for being so cynical, but I suspect that you may be making fun of me. Of course I will forgive you. You cannot help your cynicism, given your father fancies himself a philosopher. It must run in your family. Indeed he does. Our library is full of Hegel and Kant, though I doubt he understands it. Mother says he just wants to show it off at dinner parties. How is he able to show it off if he can't understand the material he speaks of? It is nothing but more than a bluster. Mother says pretense is one of the key traits a man must possess if he wishes to be successful in this world. My father's an earnest man. He could not lie if his life depended on it, especially not about philosophy. And that is why my mother worries about you, Emmeline. She has said as much before. She need not concern herself with my family. We may not be as rich as you, but what we lack in wealth we make up for in raw talent. Are you saying I have no talent? I am saying it is somewhat sad that a 14-year-old girl such as yourself still cannot sew a single comforter. Hey! Cornelia, who had let her guard slip as she pondered her father's ill-fated attempts to ingratiate himself with his intelligentsia of the age, tried to obscure her hands behind her back once more, but it was already too late. What are you doing, Emmy? I am examining your hands as I said I would, and... Oh dear. Emmeline tutted as she shook her head, her fingers linked together with Cornelia's. They are such beautiful hands, with such smooth skin, yet they are marked all over with red dots. It appears as though you have been a human pincushion. I already told you, Emmy, I have no skills when it comes to sewing. Why must you tease me so? I was not teasing you. I was honouring your efforts. That is a bold-faced lie, and we both know it. If you had an ounce of respect for me, you would not be smiling like that. Like what? Like that! No, let go of me. But Emmeline did not. Instead, she continued to stand there, skirts fluttering about her legs, attempting to peer into Cornelia's grumpy little face with an undisguised amusement. Emmy, I told you to let go. Why do you never listen to me? Because seeing you blush is so much fun, of course. Emmy! If Cornelia had the use of both of her hands, perhaps she would have struck the top of Emmeline's head for her insolence. As it was, she did not. All she could do was glare. Glare and blush. Cornelia blushed a lot. That was one of the downsides of having such fair skin. That, and when she poked herself with a sewing needle, as she was so prone to doing, the red welts that resulted stood sharply, starkly against her milky complexion. Why are you acting so coy, Nellie? I know you enjoy my company, really. Be that as it may, you are behaving rather childishly right now, and I have no desire to indulge your whims. Honestly? Honestly. Even if those whims are as your own as well. Well... Cornelia let her head hang, her face turning just a shade darker. This was not the first time that the two girls had held hands. They had been friends ever since they were small, and they were not unfamiliar with the sensation of the other's skin. In fact, they were more well versed with one another's body than one might have expected. Though their mothers would have scolded them for the unladylike manner in which they comforted themselves when left alone at the lakeside, they would have been scandalized to learn of the other, more intimate action that had taken place between the two girls. It had only been a month or so ago when, drunk on the lazy heat of the encroaching summer, the two girls had slowly, lackadaisically, shared their first kiss. Not a kiss on the cheek or the temple, as they had done during their babyhood, but a true kiss, typically shared between adults of the opposite sex. Neither of them knew who instigated the kiss, or why they had lingered for so long in such a manner. Their lips pressed together, but both agreed that after the fact that they had liked it. It had just felt right. As such, without giving these moments of intimacy too much thought, the two girls had continued their display of their affection for one another in such a manner all through the summer of 1851. It may have been uncommon for two women to exchange such kisses and caresses, but what of it? Why should they not kiss one another if they wanted to? Their lakeside was their own private haunt, their secret garden, and nothing could intrude upon them there, not even so-called common decency. That was another question. Why should it be indecent? Emmeline did not understand. She loved Cornelia, and Cornelia loved her. And was that not enough? Even if it was not enough for the rest of the world, it was more than enough for her. You know, you really are beautiful. Do you honestly think so? Of course, I thought so from the moment I was old enough to understand what beauty is. You're one of the most loveliest people I've ever seen. Is that why you like me, then? Because you think I'm pretty? Maybe. We humans are fickle beings. Isn't your father proof enough of that? How cruel, Emmy! If you were only kissing me because you think I'm pretty, then perhaps you should re-evaluate the nature of our relationship. You are nothing more than a rake. You're even worse than that awful Wedgwood boy. You would compare me to Aubrey Wedgwood? My dear Cornelia, I am wounded. I am nothing at all like that boorish fop. Well, I wonder. He can be awfully insistent, too. It's not fitting for a young man. Of course it's not fitting. Did you know? He even deigned to take my hand during your mamma's garden party last week. Honestly? Indeed. I would have slapped him, Nelly, and had his mother not happened upon us. Did she scold him? Lady Wedgwood? Of course not. Emmeline spat on the ground, and did not have the courtesy to wipe her mouth with a handkerchief afterwards. Under normal circumstances, Cornelia would have scolded Emmeline, but on this score she relented. Thinking about Aubrey Wedgwood often made her want to spit too. She dotes on that spoilt son of theirs. Why, she probably believes him to be the second coming of Christ, though he flirts with every single woman in the village, old or young. You see, Nelly, I am nothing like Aubrey. I would rather die than become a rover like him. My feelings for you, my dear Cornelia, are molded from different cast. You've captured my heart with your ephemeral beauty, and now mine eyes can wander no further. You are my sweet red rose, newly sprung in June. Well, Cornelia, flustered though she was for Emmeline's teasing, had enough wits about her to recognise that line. Are you quoting poetry now, Emmy? Indeed. Did you not know that my love is like a melody, sweetly played in tune? Don't be an idiot. If you wish to serenade me, you could at least write me a poem of your own. But I know and appreciate it, really. In all honesty, I think you are being rather foolish. I cannot help myself, though. I really do love you, Cornelia. I love you so, sometimes I fear I may go mad. What do you know of madness? I know when you are not by my side I miss you horribly, and I find myself counting down the minutes, no, the very seconds, until we may be in one another's company once more. I appreciate your feelings, Emmy. I love you too. That's cute. Oh my gosh, it's adorable. If only Emmeline and Cornelia had continued to spend their time together in so sweet a manner, smiling and laughing, or else bickering pointlessly about one another and making one another pout, yet always parting with words of love and kisses stolen beneath the warm summer sun. Unfortunately, such moments cannot last forever. The splendours of summer soon faded, and the leaves began to turn brown, and the wind gained a sharp edge that made Emmeline shiver. It was also during the autumn months that Philip Burns returned home for the first time in half a year. The reunion, however, was not quite as happy as the previous ones had been. Philip Burns had always been a small man, yet he seemed even smaller during the bitingly cold September. He stooped more than usual when he entered rooms, if he entered them at all, for he had now developed a habit of lingering, ghost-like, about the thresholds of his own home, as though afraid of stepping inside. It was almost as though, during his 6 months' sojourn in London, he had lost something crucial about his constitution, his sense of self, or else his soul. Philip's feet were planted firmly on the earth, but he was divorced from the world around him. He drifted about aimlessly, like a somnambulist, yet he was restless within his dream world, incapable of sitting still for more than 5 minutes at a time. He looked at things without seeing them, ate food without tasting it, held objects without touching them. Once he tried to pick up his glass during dinner, and used so little force it slipped between his fingers, smashing him into pieces against the floor. Even when he spoke to Emmeline, it was without any real feeling, like he was reciting words from a play script, and Phillips had never been a very good actor. He was not like Cornelia's father, who had so much huff and puff he could have blown down even the brick house built by the most industrious of the 3 little pigs. Philip Burns was far too honest, and that was the worst thing. It was because he was an honest man that Emily knew, though he tried to keep the truth from her. Something was wrong. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. But she did not know that. What? Sorry. Oh dear. Are you all right, Emmy? Emmeline blinked, brushing a few strands of hair from her face, and turned. Why do you ask? Was my face contorted in a curious manner? I suppose you could say that. You have been acting rather more despondent than usual, that is all. Huh. A cat-like smile crossed Emmeline's lips. She leant forwards, until her nose was only inches apart from her commands, and said in hushed tones, "Are you worried about me, Nellie?" I, 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 I was worried about you, and I shall not, but I shall not worry any longer if you insist upon acting like that. Emmeline only giggled, unmoved by Cornelia's protestations, and rearranged her hair. Seeing you blush always cheers me up, my dear Cornelia. So you admit that you were feeling unhappy earlier? Just a touch. I couldn't help myself. Not when my father has been acting in such a peculiar manner. He shams about the house like an animated corpse, like the misunderstood creature from Mr. Shelley's novel. Mr. Shelley? I thought the author of Frankenstein was Mrs. Shelley, not her husband. I'm not sure of the details, Nellie. Mother says a woman could not have written such a twisted tale, and I do not know who I should believe. In any event, it does not particularly matter. Probably not, no. Emmeline ran a hand through her auburn curls, or at least she tried to. She soon found her bonnet got in the way of this gesture, so she untied the ribbon beneath her chin and removed the offending garment. She let her bonnet sit in her lap, as a mother might with a newly born babe, and played with the soft light green ribbon, twisting it around the wrist of her palm. The sensation of the soft, smooth material against her skin was comforting, like a caress. To be quite honest, I have rather been concerned about father. Just this morning he missed the stair during his descent in the hallway, and sprained his ankle. Could have broken his leg. But he did not. No, he did not. He does look rather undignified now, though, limping everywhere like an invalid. Oh, Emmy. Emmeline shifted, still playing with the ribbon of her bonnet, and the look of Cornelia's face was too sombre for a playful forest sprite such as herself, and it was unsettling. She did not want to think about her father. She had retreated to the Lintons' estate, despite protestations of Miss Warren. You have not finished your history lesson, Emmeline. I doubt you could tell the Queen Elizabeth apart from a hole in the ground. She could not avoid thinking about her father. So she could avoid thinking about her father. Rather new for Emmeline. She had always loved being with her father. Now, however, she found herself seeking any recourse available to avoid him. Seeing him like this, so small and sad, shuffling him about his home like a repentant sinner, was too painful. When you return home, would you give your father my regards? Mother's awfully concerned about him. And you too, Emmeline. Beatrice Linton would be concerned. She's always loved poking her nose into other people's business. She's not doing it because she enjoys idle gossip. She does know better than anyone that my mother deplores that kind of behaviour. She believes it to be most unpleasant. She cannot help but feel worried, given what she read in the papers lately. Your family has a great deal invested in East Anglian railways, do they not? Don't talk to me about business, Nellie. I can't understand it at all. I am sure you could if you tried. You've just been raised to believe you should not bother. Gosh, you sound more and more like your mother every day. Emmeline exhaled, tightening the rim of her bonnet around her wrist so much that it started to hurt. Though this material was soft, intended for wear by young women with silken skin who had never been worked a day in their privileged little lives, it chafed when she wound it so tight, it as such about her wrist. It was strange, Emmeline mused, how something as innocuous as a ribbon could cause harm when it was used with malicious intent. This world was more dangerous than she had ever truly given it credit for. Even the lake, which she had often gazed upon with Cornelia, could be hiding some sinister secrets within its depths. I apologize, Nellie. I don't mean to snap at you. I have been rather highly strung as of late. It must be because of the atmosphere at home. Do not fret, Emmy. I understand. You do? Not entirely, but I will try to. I do care for you, after all. Thank you, Nellie. The two girls looked at one another, unusually shy, hesitant, their faces flushed. Then, with a tut, Cornelia leant forwards, brushing the tips of her fingers against Emmeline's wrist. You should not do that. What? Fiddle with your bonnet like that? Because it's unbecoming of a lady. Because you're hurting yourself. Your poor hand is gone white. Your blood cannot flow through your body properly if you impede it like that. And your hands, by contrast, still appear to be red, Nellie. Emmeline giggled and began to unwind the ribbon from about her wrist. Are you still yet to master the sacred art of cross stitch? That is neither here nor there. I am trying to comfort you, Emmeline. And you have been doing a wonderful job. Gazing upon your many imperfections always cheers me, eh? You are so cruel, Emmeline. Sometimes I feel like you do not truly love me. You just love toying with me. Now, where did you get a silly idea like that? Emmeline smiled with a touch of less sarcasm than before, and leant forwards. Then, moving quickly, as a kittiwake might pluck a fish out of the water, she pressed a chaste kiss against the corner of Cornelia's lips. I love you more than ever. Nothing could quell my feelings for you, not a raging storm or a howling wind. Cornelia pressed one hand against her cheek gingerly. The spot where Emmeline had kissed her tingled. It felt much like being poked with a sewing needle, a sensation Cornelia was depressingly familiar with, yet it was not unpleasant. Your blushes are truly beautiful, Cornelia. They would even outdo the roses in the midst of summer. It makes me wish I could kiss you every single second of the day if it would always elicit such a lovely response. I do not think my heart would be able to cope with such a constant slew of affection. You would kill me, Emily. And what a better way would there be to die than to be kissed fervently by a girl you love? And with a light giggle, even breezier than the coastal air, Emmeline pressed another kiss against the side of Cornelia's mouth. You know you should ask my permission before you do that. I'm not quite as hungry for affection as you are. So you say, but you did not offer much resistance. That sounds like something Aubrey would say. Never! You would not seek to compare me to that cur again, would you, Nelly? I am simply saying what I see. You claim to dislike Aubrey, but you grow more and more like him with every passing day. That is a lie, libel, slander. Take it back. No. Take it back, I said. I refuse. Well, I insist. If you want me to change my mind, you have to insist harder than that. All right, then. How is this? The devilish glint in her eye, which would have been evident enough only for a couple of centuries past to try her as a witch, Emily shifted forwards and began her merciless assault. Not even William of Normandy, as he drove back the armies of Harold Godwinson during the Battle of Hastings, could have conceived such brutality. Emmy, stop that! Cornelia kicked and scored and pushed back against the ground by Emmeline's sudden siege, but it was to no avail. Emmeline had the element of surprise on her side, and she had taken a clear advantage. Cornelia blinked up at Emily, squirming like a hooked fish as Emmeline sat astride her, skirts rocked up to her thighs, her fingers trailing lines across Cornelia's prone body, beneath her chin, under her arms, against her sides. Was there any war tactic more vicious, more wicked, more devious than that of tickling? And this was not just any tickling, oh no, this was extreme tickling that would surely end in bloodshed. Emmy, stop! Get off me! Cornelia implored breathlessly, choking on the words between her pursed lips, but the indomitable Emmeline remained unmoved. No, I will not! Not until you recant what you said. That you are like Aubrey? Indeed, admit it be nothing more than a lie, and I may spare your life. No, never! I stand by my word! Then I will stand by my actions. I will not stop until you surrender, Nelly, and I warn you, I can be very persuasive when I want to be. Her eyes hardening like a steel of a sword's blade, Emmeline dipped her head and began to press kisses against Cornelia's neck. Oh, Kinky! Cornelia's dress had begun to slip off her shoulders, and there was a good deal of pale skin on show, more than would have been deemed socially acceptable. You rogue! You would attack such a helpless young girl. Only because this helpless young girl is attempting to defile my honour. So you would seek to defile me? Well, I wonder. Cornelia squealed as though she had been doused in water, and redoubled her efforts to escape, but it was all in vain. Oh, did I skip one? Nope. The two girls continued to bicker playfully, giggling, even as the warmth of the sun began to dissipate and an autumnal chill settled into the air. At that moment, as the day drew to a close, the two girls may truly have believed, with their rumpled clothes and disordered hair and flushed cheek, that this could last forever. Okay, and I'm going to end this video here, so Make sure to tune in next time to part 3 of The Sad Story of Emmeline Burns. And this is Coffee and Poop. Talk to you later. Bye.